Well, you are about to get the best advice for your real estate YouTube channel. Let's be honest, doesn't just have to be real estate. If you have any interest in YouTube creating freedom, this is going to be a show you're going to want to pay very close attention to. I have my boy Benji Travis here, who changed my life in a big way about 8.5 months ago on Clubhouse when him and Sean Cannell poured into me. These guys are the co-authors of YouTube Secrets. I looked into Benji. Millions of subscribers, billions of views, multiple channels. And I found out he had a background in real estate. We became fast friends, and he's one of the most giving guys I've ever met. So do me a favor before we even get started, look him up, give him a follow on his channels. We are streaming this on multiple platforms. If you're on our YouTube channel, which is the flagship, especially because we're talking YouTube, let me know who you are and where you're from. If you're in our inner circle group on Facebook, that is called Practical and Tactical. You have to allow StreamYard to show us who you are, just like this Facebook user who's super excited. We don't know who you are, so you got to allow StreamYard to show your profile. Producer eScarf will drop you in there. Another Facebook user should do the same thing. Benji is definitely the real deal. It's very interesting, Benji. I got a call 20 minutes before our podcast, and I just picked up a listing in St. Thomas, and it came from YouTube. So
crazy.
Yeah, wild, right? It's absolute money. A lot of what you're going to break down is how YouTube is a business and not just a social media platform. But why don't we start with the Spider-Man origin story, brother? How did you even get to this point?
Yeah, well, it's funny. My origin story started in real estate. I was a failing agent in 2008, so struggling through the crash just like everybody else in the industry. And during that time, my girlfriend, who is now my lovely wife, Judy, was starting YouTube. So I had a lot of extra time. I was dialing for dollars, right? Doing the cold calls, door knocking.
Awesome.
I was trying to get listings, but she started a YouTube channel. And she wasn't really savvy on the business side, but she was getting a lot of brand deals. So I said, hey, I'll help you out. You know, we're in the same office. Literally, we shared the same office back then. Her background was the typical real estate agent, you know, like vision board with the post-it notes and everything. And so that started a journey of understanding the significance of YouTube. So she became a beauty influencer. She always cringes at that term, but that's what she was. And so we started this business as YouTubers. And so long story short, she not only became a very significant person in the beauty industry, we eventually started a vlog channel together that was just supposed to be super casual, but became our family vlog. We shared our a journey through marriage. We talked about parenting. And that's the channel that's got over 1 million subscribers, billion plus views, which is crazy because that was supposed to be a casual channel. But during that time, I was thinking, you know, I should do something with this YouTube in regards to my real estate. And so before anybody was really thinking about YouTube as a legit place to market, people were definitely putting up listing like tours, but it was just like PowerPoints of the photos from their listings. I thought, you know what, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth. I'm going to do kind of like a vlog style tour of all my properties. And what happened was I went from doing less than 10 properties a year to over 100 properties because of that real estate channel. I've since left being an agent. I still flip homes. I have some rental properties, but that changed my life. And it was all because of YouTube. So YouTube has changed my life twice at least, among some other times, like you mentioned, YouTube Secrets and my other channel, Video Influencers. So I'm a firm believer, but you know, like anything, it's how you treat it, how you execute on it, how you are consistent. There's so many aspects of it, but I do believe, especially in real estate, there's still a ton of potential. And you know, made a lot of money, done really well. My wife and I were still doing this after 14 years. So YouTube's not going away. And if you haven't started today, you absolutely can and crush it.
Let's start right there, because I think the biggest myth that agents have is, well, I see all of these living in channels popping up in my neighborhood, and that's what I have to do because I'm a real estate agent. But they don't really understand that you're you, I'm me. We're going to attract a different type of person.
Right.
And I truly believe, like from the research I've done, and I've dived deep, read your book, I've gone heavy into understanding the platform, and I'm maybe like a 3-stripe white belt. I'm trying to get my blue belt right now. You know, I feel like YouTube's just at the beginning of what it could potentially be. So maybe speak to that person who feels like, you know, they look at somebody else's success and think, I'm never going to catch them.
Well, that's exactly right. So I was also in martial arts. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo, but that didn't happen overnight. That was years and years of going to the studio, practicing with people, going to tournaments. So I had to earn my belts, my stripes to get to that point. YouTube is no different, just like in real estate. So everyone has to start wherever they're at. Some people might have more gear, more tech savvy, more, understanding of YouTube. But if you're not that and you're starting completely dry with no experience, give yourself a little bit of grace. So that's how I would like to start off. But, for real estate agents, what I love about this interview is it's very clear what the goal is for most real estate agents.
Sure.
You're trying to get a client who's either trying to buy a property or list a property. Very simple. So what I would do is isolate it to one of those. So you talked about living in this neighborhood, right? Of course, you could list properties from some of those videos, but typically you're getting people coming to those neighborhoods, so you're trying to get them as a buyer's agent for your business. If you start there and understand what is the process of that person that is going to find your video, what are they interested in? What are they typing into the YouTube browser? And then if you start all of your ideas from there, you're already going to be 90% ahead of everybody else who literally just puts up basically real estate commercials, right? Let's be frank here. A lot of them like, hey, I'm this person. I'm going to talk about this, but let me tell you about my business. And they literally go into like a 3 or 4
talk about themselves, right?
Exactly. Rather than getting right to the point. And I guess they discount the quick answers, thinking that's not going to get me a lead. You and I have a good friend, Levi. He's done really well for himself. And he even talks about the power of YouTube is basically you're going to get them on your side. So you don't have to talk on a script to get them as a client. The way you do that is by actually helping them. 90% of the people that watch your videos may never call you, but there's going to be enough of that 10% that think, wow, Justin just told me everything I need to know. If there's somebody that's going to help me, if they were my agent, it's going to be Justin. And so don't discount answering people's very basic questions. When I first started real estate, my real estate channel, my goal was, what are the top 10 frequently asked questions? And I'm going to answer them for people. So even things where, when you're doing those listing call practices, they got the script. I was like, don't tell them everything. Just give them enough and get them in for listing appointment. Get them in for that follow-up call. Get them signing, right? No, I'm not like that. I'm like, what are the top questions they ask me when they're in that listing appointment? I'm going to give them the answer. And I just kept doing that and doing that and doing that. And that's how I was able to go to 10 to 100 properties. I was able to land one of the biggest real estate accounts in the industry. And it was literally just answering people's questions. So, things have evolved. There's a lot more competition, but I would definitely start there.
I love that answer. So I posted on TikTok today, because I'm trying my little TikTok grind too, a video, and it was just training, working out. And the quote essentially said, some people will show up for a day and they expect the world to be given to them. Other people show up for 10 years and still feel like they just got started. And I think that's what you so eloquently put it, is don't be afraid. Look at it as an opportunity. And as you're progressing, you realize like I don't even know how many episodes of Prime People I've done. I started this in 2013. This year is the only year that I've been dialed in on. And the first 2 seconds was, this is what you're watching, and this is the problem we're going to solve. Nobody even knows who I am that doesn't know me on this channel right now. If we have random viewers, they don't know what I do. They don't know the companies that I own. They don't even know what market I work in, because we're not here to answer those questions. I think that's such a killer insight. And we got a pile of people here. We had living in Dallas, Texas, which is our friend Levi that we were just talking about. Matt Kelly, who's on his journey as well. Matt is an absolute beast. He's been following your stuff as well, and down that YouTube journey, putting out content. We have another Facebook user. Make sure to hit the StreamYard link to get yourself in. A good friend, Matt LaMarche in Atlanta. He's, again, I think people like you have provided so much clarity to people like me and Matt, where once we start realizing the questions that are out there, we start thinking beyond that of like, who is the person asking the question? So the listing that I just got a call for, got the appointment set, going there tomorrow at 5 p.m. I even told him about the strategy, because before I'm going to the listing, I'm explaining to him like how that engagement worked and how it's going to help me sell his house. Because the consumers out there, I think, are starting to pick up on, well, if I'm going to put your house on the market, what separates me from everybody else out there? And I do think YouTube is a massive differentiator. But the consistency aspect of it is so hard. Shooting the videos, editing them, getting them out every week. Like, walk me through a little bit of what that journey was like for you, because you look like a pro now, but it couldn't have always been like that.
Oh no. I mean, you look at my first video, deer in the headlights. It's so awkward and cringy. I don't like to look at it, but I do show it quite often to people because this is how I started, right? I didn't just get all those listings right off the bat. I had to put out crappy videos to get to the good ones. I'd say like don't overcomplicate the process. Some of the best creators right now are just using their phone. I mean, if you've got an iPhone, you're already there. The one with the 3 lenses. I mean, that's like all you need. You don't even need a microphone, maybe a tripod, maybe something to keep it still, like one of those handheld ones. So you can do a walk and talk, because sometimes people are more comfortable like walking and talking versus just sitting. Whatever is comfortable for you. If you want to go for the big setup, go right ahead, but it is not necessary. You know what's interesting? Again, going back to the person that's looking for a house in whatever city or looking to sell their house and wants to know the price of it. They could care less about the production value. This is why I'm excited to talk to real estate agents, because I know as somebody that has been interested in real estate, bought homes, sold homes, you know, if I'm looking for an answer to a question, I just want the answer. And so if you can get the answer, and this is why every single agent that's experienced, that's done this for a while, you know, been in it for, you know, over a decade, has a lot of experience in the industry. If you answer people's question on the phone or in person, you can do this on YouTube. Because all you're going to do is take whatever you say in these conversations the most, and you're going to make it into a YouTube video. And so, like, to your point, you know, we're talking about YouTube, but it doesn't have to be just YouTube. Oftentimes I tell real estate agents, go to where you know your clients are. So if that's TikTok, go right to TikTok. Right now, I think Facebook is still very significant for a lot of people. For whatever reason, Facebook has become like the family and friends place, right? You know, like, and people secretly use Facebook, even though they don't publicly say they do. And so why I like Facebook is because it's easier just to post casual content. And guess what? As a real estate agent, you totally can. If I was, I mean, maybe I should save this for later on, but literally, if I was starting right now and YouTube was intimidating, Facebook, if I was more comfortable, I would start right there. But you know what happens when you start uploading, you know, 30-second videos, 60-second videos, you get more comfortable on camera. You understand what is actually helping people because you're getting feedback. Maybe people are DMing you. And then that is the very beginning. And so I can't tell you enough. Like, don't overcomplicate your process. Don't worry about your equipment. If you record it and they can hear your answers, that's all you need.
That's so key. I think people get stuck on the gear. We actually have reverse engineered it. We shot 2 of our neighborhood videos recently for the Prime channel, which is doing very well, on GoPros on purpose because we wanted the shaky camera. I was watching an interview with Mr. Beast, and he was talking about how they actively don't use DSLRs because it breaks that wall, and you want to bring people in and make them feel like they're next to you. Super insightful. We had Kyle Henry actually ask a question. He was asking about getting over the fear of internal objections of putting yourself out on YouTube. And he says, you know, I don't know what I'm talking about. He's not experienced. What's interesting is this is a great question for what you just said. Kyle Henry came from a $14 billion recruiting company, one of the top cold callers on the planet. Like, he is an expert, but it's that negative self-talk. So speak to my boy, Kyle.
Well, that's more of a mind, you know, game there. And honestly, has nothing to do with YouTube, because if you're helping people, right, Kyle, then people could care less about like judging you. They're like, oh, this guy's helping me. Like that's literally all they care about, especially in real estate. They type it in, whatever the question is, and they want the answer. And typically they're looking on YouTube for the shortest video, right? Hint, 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 right? And they're not looking as like, oh, his hair is bad, right? Or he doesn't look very professional. Like, they're like, this guy actually is answering all my questions. This is another reason why you should get a lot of content out on YouTube. Now, we can talk about how to optimize content, because you don't want to just blast YouTube with just randomness, but it's also better just to start there if it gets you, you know, practicing. The mindset thing is interesting because that's just individual, and we've all got our own, you know, ideas of what other people will think. You know, I use this as an example. It's kind of weird, but I used to go clubbing. I love dancing, right? I love going out when I was a lot younger. I wasn't that good at dancing. I was part of like this hip hop dance crew. And so like I had to practice really hard to perform. But like at the club, for whatever reason, I was like, oh, people are going to judge me. People are about it. So what I would literally do walking into the club is I would think I was John Travolta. I was on that Saturday Night Fever, I think. And of course, I wasn't doing the drugs or anything crazy like that. But I would just get into this mindset of like, I am just going to rock this dance floor. So that is more about you and talking to yourself, putting positive affirmations and just building yourself up. But honestly, the reason I started this whole answer the way I did, because no one else really even cares, right?
Yeah.
And this is why you could be in an office setting, you could be outside of one of your listings, you could just be on the sidewalk talking. If they can hear you and you help them, that is all that matters. Is your phone ringing, right? That is what you should be focused on. And honestly, it's not even the phone ringing. It's like if somebody searches this question on YouTube, if my video gets in front of them, will my answer help them? Will my video actually accomplish whatever it is that they set out to do on the platform? That is the only thing that actually matters when it comes to real estate content on YouTube. I promise you, your phone will dial more than you can even handle. There's so many stories of that. Even myself, like at the point when my real estate business as an agent boomed, I was only in it for about 3 years, which is not that long, right? I'm still fairly green. I was in real estate as a investor flipping homes, so I kind of knew real estate. But deer in the headlights, the first video, and that was only like that was 2 years into being an agent, right?
Yeah.
And so it was all about the fact that I was helping people, and I was willing to do something that was outside the norm. This is like 2010, 2011, and for whatever like demons I had in my mind, doubts I had about doing this. And, there was a point where I was going to just quit, it finally started catching some momentum. People were like, okay, you know what? And what happened? I'm not kidding you, Justin. To this day, people still call me, say, hey, Benji, can you help list my house? These are family and friends that know I'm like a daily vlogger. I have a YouTube business. And for whatever reason, because I hit them up so much and I did the sphere of influence, cold calls, mailers, and all that stuff. But it was my YouTube and Facebook videos that were always in front of them that made them think like, oh, I should call a Benji for this real. They still call me to ask me how much their house is worth, right? Like, hey, like, should I sell right now? And I'm always wondering, like, why are they calling me? Like, I don't put that out there anymore. It has to have been my big library and that constant barrage of small, helpful content that never left them. I guess why I tell that isn't to really stroke my own ego or flex anything. It's the fact that there's not enough real estate agents doing that on a local level. They're thinking global, right? I want to be this huge YouTuber. I want to have 1 million subscribers. You don't need that. What you need is 10 people to watch your video and one of them to call your phone.
Yeah, legitimately. Like I think the Prime channel just hit 2,200, which is a lot, but I've been working on that channel since like 2012. And it sat very kind of sleepy and dormant because I was putting videos that didn't necessarily speak to buyers and sellers. I was doing my daily Prime daily videos, and there was like podcasts like this on it and everything else. And when I met you and Sean, that was one of the first things you guys gave me clarity on. It's funny because as our relationship developed, I keep asking you kind of the same questions and you keep throwing it back in my face and being like, hey, you're asking the similar questions, which is great because you're getting an understanding of like a through line for your content and what you need to do consistently. But it is the consistency above everything. I find it super interesting that people kept calling you for real estate.
Yes, to this day.
It makes me think of Roger Wakefield, right? Because when you take the comparison, and I watched his presentation at Daryl's thing, and he said there's 2 plumbers in his area. There's one that spends 500 grand a year on TV ads, 25 spots a day, your typical like advertising campaign. He's like, Google pays me. And he's like, I get as much, if not more business off YouTube when I'm not even paying attention. So I think let's deconstruct YouTube as an actual platform.
Definitely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that's exactly right. You have to kind of deconstruct it. Don't let this intimidate you. But now we're going to take these grand ideas and simple strategies and tell you how to actually execute it. So I always tell people, especially real estate agents, start with your top 10 frequently asked questions. See, if you start there, you're going to start understanding what people respect you for. What is it they think you know? And most likely that is what you know, right? That's your experience, whatever. You take those videos and you're not going to make videos on all those questions. you're going to start typing them into YouTube. Okay. Every single one. In fact, Justin, you and I went through this exercise just the other day, right? You're like, hey, like, can you give me some advice on this title? It's like, let's type it in. Literally, I do this basic stuff to this day. Type in the question that people are going to ask you that you want to answer onto YouTube. What are the results, right? As you're typing, what pops down? Everybody that uses YouTube, if you don't, this is what happens. All these prompts come up. These are suggestions of what other people are actually typing in. See, sometimes we can get too smart for ourselves and we just assume what it is our people are typing in. If you type it in, not only are they going to prompt you, but actually hit enter and then see what pops up. Watch all those videos. Yes, this takes time, but I'm telling you, it's absolutely worth it. And so for every single one of these, videos that pop up for these different, questions that you're going to answer, you're going to figure out, why is it that these videos pop up for this question, right? Why is it ranking? And then watch it and say, like, I'm going to make it even better. Do that for all of them. And so this is a starting point for someone that's just beginning, maybe wants to get their feet wet, but you will literally 10x the speed of progress compared to everybody else. Because the wrong thing to do is go to someone's specific channel, right? Go to Justin's channel, go to Levi's channel, go to this other real estate agent that's crushing it and literally copy exactly what they're doing. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. You can learn a lot from them, but the game of YouTube is still search. The game of YouTube is there's an algorithm that takes you as a user and puts the right videos in front of them. And so if you go through this practice, not only for the top 10, but as you progress and you see what videos really stick, what is actually helping people, you're going to get much better at optimizing. And so that is just the starting point. And that question and the videos and the titles that they use, the thumbnails that get people to click on them, that's going to give you all the answers you need to get started in a much faster manner so that you're not just like throwing things against the wall and seeing what sticks. You're actually doing what the pros do. This is what all the high-level content creators, YouTubers, not just real estate agents, everybody does, because you don't want to assume what works. You want to research what works.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, it's interesting having that conversation with you. And fun fact, the thumbnail we ended up with was a combination of our conversation and our good friend Christina Smallhorn popped up. I was actually hanging out with her, Viper, Chris, a whole bunch of those people this morning on Coffee Talk. Shout out to Clubhouse and all you guys. You're amazing people. And it really was that discussion around like, well, no, not what you visually want to see, not what you want to type in the search box. Like, what are people actually typing? So when I'm doing research now, she gave me a nice little tip and she's like, your title reads like an encyclopedia. Yeah. If you were reading like 9 videos and one said the best advice you'll get for your YouTube channel versus how to build your YouTube channel in parentheses for real estate, which one are you clicking on, right? So elaborate on that. Like,
well, it goes back to what I just said. You're going to type into the search bar the question you think you want to answer, but you're going to see the titles that actually work because the videos that show up, it's not like YouTube, the algorithm is just putting randomness up there. They're putting the videos. This is the little secret. My book is called YouTube Secrets. This is one of the biggest secrets that's so obvious that if you just understand this concept, game over. YouTube is putting the videos that get people to watch the most video on YouTube. And so it doesn't matter what your preconceived notions are on what title works, what thumbnails work, whatever shows up after what you search, that is what you can learn from. In fact, I'm very quick to tell you, I do not have all the answers. In fact, I go through this exercise with every single content creator that asks me for advice because there's so many different niches. There's so many different genres and topics. Even in real estate, there's different needs. An investor trying to flip a home, right? Somebody trying to get into bank-owned properties. Somebody trying to find their first home because they've never bought a house before. All of it's going to be different. So the videos that fit best for those people and the locations, right? Like it's a completely different ball game for somebody going to Beverly Hills, buying a mansion versus somebody. I live in a small town, so I can say this, Marysville, Washington, right? Which is just a little suburb. Like the needs are going to be completely different. The answers can be delivered in a way that's more helpful for that person. And that's why it starts right there. And this is why I don't even pretend, because like that'd be dumb of me to think like I know exactly the answer. I just go, hey, let's pop up YouTube. Boom, boom, boom. the best YouTube experts. I'm a good friend with Sean Cannell, right?
Yeah.
And I constantly am talking to him. It's so like normal for us, but it's interesting watching him help other people. First thing he does, pops out his phone, gets the app out, right? And typing in like, hey, so what's your channel about? Okay, what was it? And like, we all do this.
Yeah.
But it's funny, as the people that are just learning how to use YouTube, uploading for the first videos, they're so worried about doing things perfect. So they're reading books. You should definitely read YouTube Secrets. It's a short read, right?
Well,
But
2.0 is coming out soon, right?
Yeah,
So get on the
2.0 is
list for
coming out.
that.
They're downloading courses. They're
Yep.
going to conferences. So unnecessary. Sometimes you have to get through all that to get to the basic answers. Because I did too in real estate. I went to every single convention. I was touring the country. I was going to Vegas to buy properties. I was doing this and that and all that. And then I realized, wow, I actually have a market in my own town. I know the people that live in my neighborhood, and I know their needs. I know what they're looking for. I can just make videos today. And like I said, all those videos, very basic. Even the ones that took a little bit of editing, no fancy, software. I used the basic free one that was on Apple laptop. So, I try to make this simple for everybody, but don't like be misguided. The pros also do this too. They just do the simple stuff better because they just cut through all the bullshit and they get to whatever works.
Yeah, it's that black belt mentality, right? We talk about the martial arts comparison. I do jujitsu. I have for a long time, and I can tell you when I roll the black belt, the way he's hitting his arm bar, he's not even really thinking about it. It's just muscle memory at that point. Same thing with the advanced YouTubers. You can tell they come through. They know exactly the cadence. They know how they have to explain things to take the audience for the ride with them. And that's what we try and do here too, right? I want to tell you what we're going to be watching, that we're going to deconstruct YouTube. We're going to talk about why it matters. We're going to talk about how to come up with ideas to keep you engaged and also value your time. Because if we're talking about stuff you're not interested in, you're going to bounce out. But I want to talk about that next. Again, in the beginning, I thought it was all sub count. Now I know it's click-through rate and retention. That's all I really focus on. And the subs are kind of just coming. So maybe help people with that. I think the vanity metrics have thrown people off.
Absolutely. So we took some simple concepts. We put some, construction, some like blueprints on them. So what is the follow-up? It's all about the follow-up. So when I say consistency, I'm not just talking about consistency in uploading. It's consistency in reading the comments, consistent in looking your analytics. So it is a little scary because it's so complex back there. But simply what you're going to do is look for the metric that shows you how long of that video people watch, right? Audience retention. Like, like of a 5-minute video, are they watching 60 seconds or are they watching 4 minutes? The videos that have the higher audience retention, pay attention to those. Ask yourself, what is it about those videos that people like where they stay near the end? Look at the videos that only get 30 seconds out of a 10-minute video and be like, why is it they jumped out here? That's a very simple thing to do. Be as objective as possible. And then also ask colleagues of yours, like, what are people saying in the comments? Like, what gets your phone ringing? I do actually have a simple tip for real estate agents I learned back in 2008 from one of the most successful investors, right? I do this literally for my brand deals for my wife, and I learned this from a real estate agent. When you finally do get a phone call, one of the number one questions is, how did you find me and why did you call me? Okay, that's a simple thing.
Yeah.
And if they say YouTube, like, oh, what video did you find? Okay, by the way, you're like backwards, like interviewing them. They'll kind of think it's kind of fun, right? No one's ever been bothered by this. And whatever their answers are, listen to those answers. Because in that video, for whatever reason, it triggered them thinking, you know what, I'm going to give this guy time, or this person has helped me so much. I need to call them because I need their help. And you start following that rabbit trail. See, this is the thing, Justin. I can't give you the exact advice until you start throwing things out there and seeing what works and then responding to, the responses that you are getting. And this is why when it does ring your phone, you want to replicate that. And this is why you don't need 20,000 views. You might only need 200 views. There are YouTube channels out there that are, millionaires in their business
Mhm.
with less than 1,000 views on their videos, sometimes less than a few hundred views on their videos, just because they care more about the business on the other side of that YouTube view rather than the subscriber, right? Rather than like being a YouTuber. And hopefully that answers your question. But again, pay attention to what gets your phone ringing, but especially in your analytics, that audience retention. Whatever is making people leave your videos, stop doing that. Whatever keeps them on your videos, keep doing more of that.
Yeah, you just unpacked so much. And I was thinking of through lines as you're speaking. There's a lot of agents out there that have massive teams that aren't profitable, right? They want the agent count, they want the numbers. There's brokerages out there that they put forth that #1 brokerage by agent count in these areas, but they have minimal impact on the actual marketplace. And you also see in many different industries, people that say they're coaches for the sake of saying they're coaches, but they have no impact on the people that they're with. Yet you look at other sides of business where maybe not putting out the production volume and everything else for the vanity metrics. You have some of the most profitable people. And a quote that I've been saying recently is, some of the most influential people I know would not be deemed influencers. And some of the least influential people I know are chasing that onus of being an influencer, right? And I think what we talked about earlier, just showing up consistently and putting your ego aside is a big part of it. Talked about the mindset piece. We did have a question from Tony in terms of like, okay, as you're in the trenches now, right? You're figuring it out. You got your list of 10 questions. You've ripped through all 10. His question is, how do you continually come up with new questions? Because that's always a challenge.
I was thinking about this last night before this interview, right? Because I'm thinking, okay, if I was starting real estate all over again and I wanted to be an agent, I don't have any desire right now to be an agent. But if I was, what would I do if my 10 videos didn't work? Well, there's way more than 10 questions. This is what you find out from the research. There's way more than 10 questions, because whether you get them on the phone, whether it's the comments on your videos, the audience, your customers are going to tell you what are the important questions. This is why it's important just to get the conversation going, getting the content out there so you can get the feedback. So that's number one. Two, in the midst of you doing research and you putting in the question into the search bar and seeing what the results are, you're going to get more idea from these other channels. So you start from a point of frequently asked questions, and rather than jumping to that person's channel, whatever it is that comes up, they might actually have a better question that they're answering. But like you, a customer typed in this question, but got to this answer that isn't really answering the exact question. You get what I'm saying? This is the rabbit hole of YouTube. Everybody can relate to this. You go to YouTube for one thing, and you end up watching 10 videos of a completely different thing, because whatever reason, that was the thing that fed your spirit at the time. The third thing I would say, and this is what I was thinking about last night, I would do that video over again. And so if there was 10 questions I was going to answer, I wouldn't do it right away, but eventually those 10 questions, I would do 10 videos on each one of those questions, but answer it in a different way, right?
Interesting.
Do the 30-second, 60-second version. Do the 2-minute, 3-minute version. Like, how much do you want this, right? Are you like door knocking, for example.
Sure.
You definitely don't want to pester people, right? So you don't want to keep knocking on people's door. But eventually you're going to go knock on that door again, right? Because this is the thing we know about real estate, Justin. People don't sell their house all at once. They do it at different times, but you keep coming back to them, right? You keep like remind them, hey, I'm your neighborhood friendly real estate agent. I'm still here to help you. You got any questions? And that's the same thing on YouTube. But what's going to happen next year when you come back to that house? You're going to be better at your scripts. You're going to know what it is that they're actually thinking. One of the things that is very common that you realize real quick, number one question everybody has that is going to potentially sell a house: how much is my house worth, right? But sometimes you don't find that out until you actually go out there and talk to people enough. Because this is one of the, I think, the downsides of the real estate industry, depending on the brokerage. They give you all these scripts, but these scripts might be from like a decade ago, right?
Sure.
They might be from a different type of economy. And who knows how old these techs are. So you got to get in the game. And so with YouTube, you might have this idea of like, this is a video that works because I saw Justin do this, right? Or I saw this other agent, or Christina was talking about this. But that video might be 3 years old. So
Sure.
you need to know what works today. And so, you know, doing the same video over and over and over is not a bad thing. In fact, if it takes you 10 times to do the video right, that goes viral, isn't it worth doing 10 times? And yeah, you know, you might think like, oh, I already did that video. Well, if it only got 5 views, trust me, those 5 people, even if they watch the one that, there's plenty of people that have no clue you did that video in the beginning. You know, a simple one I used to do is market updates.
Sure.
You can do that at least once a month. Yeah. I see agents that do like almost daily. This is what's going on. This is a rate. This all. And so there, it's once you get into it, if you really care, this is, I'm not trying to call out the person that called this, you know, asked this question.
Yeah.
But the reality is this: if you're doing this seriously, you're gonna have endless amounts of ideas for videos. If you're not serious and you're waiting for like the perfect idea to do that one video,
sure,
you're gonna have that question.
Yeah, let me walk you through exactly how I compartmentalize, and you tell me if I'm on track or not, because we've talked about this before. You know, initially my channel was a mixture, right? I had the kettlebell video that I told you about. I had these little like travel videos, the pinery, because I like photography. I genuinely enjoy it. It's a passion of mine. But as we started building a relationship, you're like, but like, who's watching your channel? What are they coming to you for? I'm like, well, primarily real estate, because they know that happens to be my expertise, but we own the media companies as well. And I love creating and helping other businesses succeed. And that's why this channel speaks to more than just real estate agents. You could have a custom sneaker shop, a coffee shop. Sales and marketing is sales and marketing. So then we started talking about the buckets of content. It's like, okay, how do I proactively plan my day? So like productivity is a big piece, sales, marketing, say real estate and media. Now, as I compartmentalize those buckets, I can start writing all the questions that I have in those buckets with the through line feeding to the main niche and the main viewer of the avatar that's watching my channel and answering his questions, maybe through the lens of real estate. You know, as you're talking, I'm getting ideas of like, well, monthly market updates and then evergreen videos and having different lists. Just do you compartmentalize things into like different categories and then kind of map it out, or what's your flow look like?
Well, it depends on where you're at. Say you are a very well-known person in the industry. People understand like when you talk about stuff, it's gold. Well, you're going to have more options, because if you do something a little bit different, they're just like, it's like my wife. Okay. When she first started, her name is Judy. If you want to search our vlog channel, it's Judy's Life. It's the most all around, all over random channel. Now it is our family vlog. So it's us as a married couple parenting our kids, but like all kinds of stuff. But she didn't start out that way. Right. And so this is our vlog channel. We, you know, this is a romantic thing I did for her at Disney World.
That's amazing.
This is the birth of our kids. If you go on, like sometimes I'm cooking, sometimes we're going out, you know, like date nights, whatever. So it's all over the place. But she first started, and if you actually go to the channel section, go to It's Judy Time. This was her beauty channel. She has since go ahead and go to videos, right?
Yeah, I'm going to drop this link in the chat so everybody can follow this channel for content
and so
get some subs.
When Judy started, she didn't start at as this epic mom vlogger that really could just vlog her life. She started as a beauty person. She was sharing her tips on putting on makeup, her product reviews as like the girl next door. So she wasn't this professional. She didn't act like a know-it-all. She's just like, hey, this is how I save money. These are the deals. I like these like drugstore makeup products. So when she first started, literally it was just doing eyeshadow looks, right? It's so crazy looking at these, and that background, Justin, is my real estate office. How embarrassing is that? Okay, awesome. I thought I was doing her a favor. Point being, right, no one cared about that background, by the way.
Sure.
All they cared was like, Judy teaches me about makeup. Oh my gosh, you see me
right I see you right there.
So the point I'm trying to make is clarity is important. in the beginning of your YouTube journey, you want to be very clear about what people are going to get. Now, you might be thinking like, I've been doing this for a long time, right? Like, maybe I'm trying different things. Well, you know what? You need to try harder, right? You need to get more clear, because the value proposition isn't just for the viewer on the other end that's going to understand clearly what it is that you're going to give to them. It's also for the algorithm. See, the algorithm is this magical thing that can either be your worst enemy or your best friend. If you're all over the place, it's always trying to figure out and dial in what is the audience for Justin's content, right? So if you're doing the kettlebell video and you're doing like productivity tips, but then out of nowhere, you're like have this like hour-long interview, it doesn't know what crowd to put your videos. It knows that each video could be for this certain crowd. Versus, let's just take kettlebell, because I love kettlebells.
Yeah.
If literally all you did was kettlebell workouts, okay, which you might think like that would drive me crazy because I do so much more. But if you really want to crush it on YouTube, you're just doing kettlebells, because not only are you going to be very clear for the person watching the video, and like, this is a kettlebell guy and this is a kettlebell channel, but then the algorithm knows, hey, this is the place to send people that are interested in these kettlebell topics. The third is really important. The long marathon watching sessions that people will go on because they have this huge content. So this is why clarity and focus is so important for YouTube when you're first starting out. And if I was ever to get frustrated, right? If I had to start over, which there's plenty of content creators that do start over and do even better with this method, getting clear about what your value proposition is for the person coming in, who it is you're serving, right? And you're going to commit to that content. If you're that clear and focused and you do that consistently, eventually, as long as your advice or whatever you're teaching is good, is going to get traction. If it doesn't, it's telling you something about you, right? And that's where you have to have honest conversations about yourself. But I'll tell you this, if you start putting up videos 100 uploads later, you're going to actually get better at that. Even if I know there's real estate agents out there that have been in the industry for very little time. They're gaining a lot of traction just because they did it a lot, right? They did all the research, they know. And that's what's interesting. There's people out there that really are just the marketing arm for their business. And you can apply this in your real estate business. If you're comfortable on camera, you know what the questions are, you know how to answer them, you know how to upload to YouTube, and you're willing to commit, you might not actually have to sell a house or go show buyers a listing. You can literally just focus on YouTube, and that phone will be ringing so much that you're going to have other people work the business while you get the business.
I absolutely love that breakdown. And the clarity makes a lot of sense, right? Make me want to go start a kettlebell channel or a travel channel, just keep it in the one spot. But I think clarity and not getting distracted, it's just sticking to your core focus.
Well, the biggest mistake, Justin, people make is they see other successful channels and they're trying to replicate what they're doing right now, not understanding that journey. That's why I use my wife as an example, because she didn't start off as this mom vlogger that could literally just vlog about any random thing. Shopping at Target, talking about makeup, what she feeds the kids. She started very specific without even thinking about this, right? She just was like, this is what I'm interested in right now. And I think it was so early in the game, she could learn from other creators because they were also starting out too. But she wasn't doing like a cooking video here and there. She wasn't going out and talking about, these are my favorite rides. That happens when you get an audience that's more interested in you than the initial value proposition. When you cross that threshold, by the way, that's an amazing thing, but don't get too relaxed, because there's these younger whippersnappers that are going to be super focused and going to answer the questions. And so one of the things that I'm always constantly reminded, I'm 37, I started, when I was like early 20s, is I got to stay on top of my game, because, the world's moving very quickly, and I'm excited by that. Just like as a black belt in Taekwondo, I got to stay up on my game, my kicks, got to stay flexible, got to stay strong, got to get, to the tournaments. I don't go to tournaments anymore, right? But if I want to be able to keep up with these younger Taekwondo students, you have to always be in it. But hopefully what happens over time, you gain a lot of wisdom and it becomes easier. And you were talking about this a little bit, using your jiu-jitsu as an example. When you do become a black belt, you realize what is a waste of time and what you want to focus on. And YouTube is no different. But you got to get through the white, yellow, green belt, like seasons to get to the black belt focus, where literally you do like 2 moves and you got them out of the ring, right? Versus like trying to do every little thing and being so confused and frustrated. So it's just like anything in life, and it does take time, but over the different experiences and the commitment, you get masterful.
Yeah, you're making the sauce and you love cooking. So, understanding how to make the sauce is integral, because then you can focus on the ingredients, the selection, the combination of it, and what it turns into. And it is the journey. That's the fun part. I think a lot of people think like, when I get there, then I'll be okay. And then I'll have all the money, and then I won't have any of the pressures. The pressures are going to be the pressures. But to one of our audience members, Myra, she was asking about looking for videos to set up her YouTube channel. I'm assuming video influencers. You have some back content catalogs or some areas that you can check out.
Yeah. So I'm trying to read. I have a few questions. How do I go? How do I set up my YouTube? Would you recommend a video, please? Yeah. Well, definitely start off with my channel, Video Influencers, but there's a ton of channels. Start with this is where you can kind of do the education for yourself, but also educate yourself on like what other people are doing. Go to the YouTube search bar and literally type in what it is, because this is another interesting thing. I would love to recommend a channel like Think Media. Sean's channel is great. Obviously we have a huge content library, but there's probably a creator that has a video that will do exactly what you need better than anybody else. For example, you might learn better from somebody that is your age, that understands like your level of savviness with technology. And so just type it into the search bar, whatever. I tell people like, you want to learn something, type it into YouTube. No one's like, I'm sure people still use Google. I do too. Other channels I would recommend. I think the other thing is, see how other real estate agents set up their channels, right?
Sure.
Learn from them. In fact, I'm just going to bash on YouTube experts for a second. YouTube experts really know nothing about real estate, but guess what? Real estate agents know about real estate. They know about the buyers and the sellers. They know about investors. And they know about people in the industry, and they know how to present themselves. And of course, there's different styles. So go to their channel and see what they're doing to see how they're set up. But I wouldn't worry so much about how to set up your YouTube channel. Just start putting out videos, because the videos will speak for themselves, and nobody goes to somebody's channel and goes, wow, this is perfectly set up.
Yeah,
I'm going to subscribe. In fact, it's usually they just go to the video, they get the answer they need. If not, they go to the second video that person made or the third video, and they get enough value that they're like, I need to find out this person's phone number, right? And if you're smart, you'll put it into the description. In fact, what's more important is setting up that description with the call to action, right? Man, we could go on forever, Justin, but I think I gave away every little thing I can think of that a real estate agent would need to succeed on YouTube.
I appreciate that so much. I want to be respectful of your time as well. If everybody can go give Benji a follow, I'm going to ask you 3 rapid fire questions, and I'm going to get you out of here. So up to this point, what's the greatest lesson you've learned?
On YouTube specifically?
Sure.
I'd say doing is way more better than researching. So I know that counterintuitive to what I said, right?
Yeah.
But when you do the videos, when you upload the content, you're going to learn a lot from the experience and the feedback than just like waiting for the perfect idea, the title and everything, going to a course, going to a class, going to a convention. Just do it. Just start where you're at and go. And that's what I've realized, especially with YouTube evolving and the culture changing. You just have to like start putting up content right now and not wait for the answers.
Yeah, agents can be the worst for that. They go to network seminars
oh
left,
my
right,
gosh,
and center.
I know. And hey, it's funny. Well, my wife always jokes about real estate agents and how like cheesy they look. And so I feel for real estate agents have to live in that world with other salespeople constantly. And that's what you're exposed to. When at the end of the day, a buyer or seller, all they care about is buying their home, right? Or selling their house. And you don't have to be a salesman for that. You just have to help them. And then, the rest kind of takes care of itself.
People don't want to be sold, but they love shopping with friends, as my boy Sirhan likes to
Right.
say. How has
Perfect.
failure shaped your life?
Well, it tells me what I shouldn't do. So, don't worry about failure, because when you fail, you're going to learn like, okay, that didn't work. Right. And you're going to get a lesson. I've had failures that were just so horrendous that, if I was told like, hey, this is what you're going to experience, I might have been like, maybe I don't want to, but I've never regretted going through it, because I've not only become stronger and smarter, but I had just avoid the things like there is a mistake in there. There was something I didn't, check. There was something I didn't do that I would only understand if I've gone through that failure. And so when you fail, you learn those priceless lessons that level you up later.
Said like a true Jedi. The last most important question of all, given you poured so much into us. My platform is yours. Where can I direct people? Is there a passion project you're working on? My platform's yours, brother.
Yeah, well, I would say buy YouTube Secrets. That's my book. You can get on Amazon. YouTube Secrets 2.0 will be coming out, but even if you buy this first one, it's the basics. Like the first half of the book didn't really change. We do have some, new tips in the second version. So that's where I would start. If you want to follow me, even just DM me. Go to @BenjiManTV on social media.
Sure.
Twitter, Instagram are the big ones where I answer DMs. And I can help you the most there if you have any additional questions.
You're an absolute gem to the industry. I'm going to buy a whole pile of copies of YouTube Secrets 2.0, give them to my
Thank you.
agents and people that were here. Smash that subscription button and make sure you don't miss any future episodes of Prime People. Benji, go crush it out there. And I can't wait till we catch up next time.